Okay, I should be live. And here we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another Android Insight call. Today's call is going to be a little bit different just because we don't have our good friend Ava with us. She has a personal family matter, so she's really sorry that she's not able to make it. I know it's been 2 years, and man, it's been fun. We've gone through different devices, a lot of different apps, and we just want to make sure that we cover all topics on this call. And we also want to know more about you guys, the listeners, the audience. Write to us, get on our mailing list. I'll explain more in the call, but I just wanted to give you a quick message that we are not going to be able to have Ava tonight. But thank you again so much for coming on tonight to join us on our 2-year anniversary call. And I will get started. So, again, my name is Hirsch. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida, and welcome to the Android Insight Call. Today's date is June 15th, 2022, and we are here to talk about Android and Android devices. So, just a little bit about what we do here. We are an open forum. We talk about everything from cell phones. We talk about smart speakers, hubs, which are smart displays. We could talk about thermostats, that how do you hook them up to your phone. Hey, you might have an iPhone. That's okay. We don't mind you having an iPhone because we want to make sure we answer what makes it different from Android, right? We want to make sure that we cover what you want to know, and if we don't know, we could write it down for homework and we'll come back to you guys, and you could always mail us through our mailing lists. So just want to kind of give you a little bit of a refresher of how this meeting works. This meeting is being recorded, so we do ask that please keep your devices that might go off at minimal, and it's just just to keep the meeting clean, and we want to make sure that once we get this on air, which will be on YouTube, that we have that information available to you. Now, I also wanted to show you how to go about with Zoom, right? Because we are using Zoom as a platform. So with Zoom, you could use your on a Windows PC, Alt A to mute and unmute. On an Android phone, on your Zoom app, on the bottom left corner, you'll find mute and unmute as a button. And for calling in members, *6 will do the same thing. Hitting *6, I believe, quickly unmutes. And mutes and unmutes, but I do believe there's a *9. So if anybody wants to clarify for me on that specific, we always have people coming on the mobile apps and stuff, but we would be more than happy to go through that. And also, how this call will run is you ask any kind of question that you might have based around Android. As I mentioned, it could be, on tablets. Chromebooks are okay. I've heard we have a member here tonight that has a Chromebook because it is based off of Android, right? So we want to know how can we get flexible with using an Android device, but it uses Chrome OS. Well, what is Chrome OS? We could kind of, maybe somebody or some of our members have used that, so we could definitely talk about devices as such. But I really look forward to answering your questions tonight, and I just want to give you a little bit of a background on social media that iBUG today offers. Our website, if you want to find us, is iBUG today today.com, and here you could also find there's a donate tab because on Android side of things, we want to test you like phones, tablets, whatever you guys want to throw at us basically, and we could see here and unbox these devices. So feel free to throw a donation, and we'll try to get some devices for you or things of that nature. And we just want to again remember that if we want to make sure that the audio is clean, so just to keep yourself muted when you're not talking, which will be gratefully appreciated. That way we don't have to kind of go in, and if we do have to tell you again and more so and you're disruptive, then apologies, we will have to remove you. But with all that set aside, just let's give you some news on what's coming up as announcements for the iBUG today upcoming events. So for tomorrow, Thursday, every third Thursday, we have our Trekkie Talk. I'm not specific on the exact episodes, so if you look at our website, ibugtoday.com, and go to upcoming events. You'll find Trekkie Talk there, and you'll find all the resources and information that will give you details about that. And then what's so unique about iBug Today and when I came aboard, which is the movie nights. It's audio described movies. The movie tomorrow is The Color Purple. Or actually Friday, excuse me, Friday. So every Friday, we have an audio described movie. So you could bring your loved ones. They might not understand what it means because there's no picture, but it's definitely a great experience to have, and we'd all welcome you to come to our website and to join our list. By the way, for us specifically on iBug Android Insight, email us at iBug Android Insight plus subscribe at groups.io. This will get you signed up for our mailing list. So if there's any current events or if you have questions, this is a good way to get in touch with us. So maybe we could figure out that homework question for you guys, and we would love to help you out to get that sorted out. But I'm sure you guys are probably full of questions, and today I'm excited because, man, it's been 2 years, and to be honest, there is a present coming along. Hopefully the present is, I think the present's already arrived, but hopefully he's smiling in the background with me, and we do appreciate everybody. But let's get our show started. So how are we going to get the show started tonight is we want everybody to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from. And remember to also let us know what kind of devices do you have, and what have you learned in the past couple years at Android?
Harshid, sorry about that. I think I accidentally muted you. You'll have to unmute again, Harshid.
Sorry about that. Little buttons get finicky.
No, my problem.
No worries, sir.
You were.
But hey, let me introduce who are you, Mr. Michael McCulloch? Who are you? Could it is a 2-year anniversary. I mean, this is why we wanted to stop the show, because it's the great leadership like Mr. Michael McCulloch here. He's the iBug guy, and he's given us this platform. Like I said, 2 years ago, I came onto this call answering Android questions, and I felt like I was answering too many questions. So Sandhya Rao, who is the VP, also said, hey, would you like to answer calls? And here we are 2 years later, and I appreciate you so much, Mr. Michael and Sandhya, for giving us the opportunity to talk Android and educate our listeners to their questions and concerns to what Android and Android platforms are. And if you have anything to say, Mr. Michael, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight. As Harsh said, this is the second year anniversary of iBUG's Android Insight. We got started not even knowing how many Android users might be out there using the various accessibility features of different Android products, and it turned out there's quite a few. And so over the last couple of years, we've been able to help a number of people, and we're happy about that, and hopefully we can continue that. So I'm here in Houston, and as Hershey had mentioned during some of the announcements, we have many other different things going on. He mentioned a couple of social events, the Trekkie Talk tomorrow night and the movie on Friday. Also in the coming week, for any iOS users, any of the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watches, Apple TV, that kind of thing. Every Monday night, there's a similar format Q&A help session, open forum on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central, right here on this very same Zoom line that you can call in with any issues you might have with that. And then the following Saturday is the iBug Apple Workshop, and that's a little more formatted type meeting where we do some little demos and different other things related to Apple products. So if you have any Apple products, then you're always welcome to join us on those. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Hershey, and we can go around the line and have everybody introduce themselves, I guess.
Absolutely. So the way we want to do this, again, I mentioned let us know how you heard about iBUG today or Android Insight, and let us know what kind of device you have and who are you and where you're from. So I'll let somebody take it away. Oh, we got shy people in the group today. And by the way, hitting Alt A are we having troubles with muting perhaps, Mr. Michael?
Yeah. So I think, they should be able to unmute themselves now.
Okay, perfect.
Elisa and Porter.
Oh. Go ahead.
Would you like me to go, Hershey?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Elisa and Porter, and I have an iPhone 13. I have a A-Lady, and I have a desktop computer. And what was your question?
How did you hear about iBUG, and is this your first time?
No, this is not my first time. I've been here before.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lisa. And I'll keep it moving on to the next person. And remember to unmute. You'll hit the mute buttons on the bottom left if you're using your Android phones or iPhones. Alt A to unmute if you're using a Windows PC. I believe it's Option Command A similarly, or is it Shift Command A?
Yeah, Command Shift A if you're on a Mac.
Right. So anybody else want to introduce themselves and let us know where you're from, what kind of device you use, and where you might have heard of Android Insight?
Yeah, maybe let me try to reset the mute. Seems like maybe people are having trouble getting unmuted. Hang on a second here.
Yep, I figure I'll try it. My name is Chris.
We hear you. Nice to meet you.
My name is Chris. I'm in Las Vegas, and I have a Google Pixel 6 Pro. I've been an Android user since the very beginning.
Excellent.
The Google G1. I'm currently on an iPad, and I can't stand Apple, but you know, I only found out about this today through the Tech VI list from David.
Okay.
So I'm brand new, just figured I'd jump in and see what it was about.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to David and the Tech VIP list to host us on that list. So I'll keep it moving. Next person, please. Go ahead and please introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, what kind of device you have, and just make sure to unmute your mic.
This is Angelo in Ottawa.
Nice to meet you, Angelo. Welcome to the club. This is Android Insight.
Well, I've done movie nights with iBUG, but I think this is my first Android session.
Well, thank you so much for joining.
Well, I have a PC with Windows 10, really old one, from 2007, and my daughter gave me a Pixel 2.
Cool.
And I really don't know how to use touchscreens. I also have she also gave me a hub, and she hooked up my Nest thermostat to it, and it was working fine. And then suddenly it decided that the thermostat's not connected anymore.
Well,
so I don't know what to do about that.
I totally appreciate that. So keep that question around. When we get to the questions coming up here, we could go ahead and see what the audience might have to say, and we could try to help you fix that out. And
yeah, because if you could send me an email with the instructions, because I'm not going to remember them otherwise.
Let the show keep moving along, and I'll give you some more resources and information. And if that doesn't answer your question, then we'll play it by ear from that point.
Great, thank you. Okay, I should do Alt A again then. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. And I'll let the next person introduce themselves. Please let us know where you're from, what type of device that you have, maybe if it's Android, and if it's your first time on this call.
Are we raising hands or just?
Nope, you don't need to raise any hands. This is easy breezy. Just go ahead and
cool.
you got the mic now. So go ahead.
Okay, so this is Lynn, and I'm from Delaware.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
I found out about your project through David Goldfield has an email.
Yes.
That he sends out with different resources and stuff, and that's where I found out about you guys.
That is so awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll keep it moving along and to the next person. if you'd like to introduce yourself. Uh-oh, we were going into shy territory. Remember, Alt-A is to unmute your microphone. And if you need to, we could always ask anybody that has questions if you're pretty much all caught up introducing. And if not,
yeah, I think we still have quite a few that haven't been able to introduce. Maybe, I don't know if they're
maybe if
having
you're shy, we could come in halfway and we could see if anybody else wants to introduce themselves at a point.
Yeah, let me try one more time to
Sure.
reset the mute, see if that does anything. Of course, this is going to mute you again, Hershey. So
Okay.
This is Shri.
Go ahead, Shri.
okay, I just muted and set the reset. So Shri, you'll have to.
And Shri, yeah.
Shri should have to unmute himself again.
This is Shri, and I don't have any Android devices, but I do have some A-Lady devices, and I'm from Northern Virginia.
Nice to see you around again, Shri. Welcome. All right. If anybody else wants to introduce themselves, let us know where you're from, your name, please, and how did you hear about iBUG, Android Insight? Quiet crowd. Mr. Michael, I think we should just jump into the questions. We had a couple questions there lined up. Sorry. What do you think, Mr. Michael?
Yeah, or I don't know if you wanted to introduce your special guest.
That is a thing, isn't it? So, Mr. iBUG himself is saying we have a present for you guys. And so, if our present, our person that we have here for you today, if you could potentially introduce yourself or raise your hand, and that way we'll understand it's you. Remember, you don't need to raise your hand for this meeting. Okay, so he's here. I have, made my notation that he is here. So what I'm going to do for you guys is tonight was a tricky call because Ava couldn't make it. She's having some personal family matters to handle and address. So I was thinking, what can I give back? Because I'm always trying to give back to the community because I've learned so much from you guys. You have questions, about Android, about speakers, things I don't know, and I have to go find out. So along the way, this year I was watching Google I/O and I watched some of the videos at Google I/O. And it kind of dawned on me, I've never emailed Google. Now, the way to get in touch with Google, the easiest way, is g.co/disability support. So what that does for you is you have choices of either contacting Google via disability email. You have the choice of using Be My Eyes. So if you have a smartphone, you could use your camera to say, hey, I can't, see this on my Chromebook or thermostat or what have you. And that's an awesome way to at least get in touch with the Googlers or, the support team. And that way we can get our, issues fixed because most of the things that they work on, think about it. Why do these devs work on these products for us? It's a need, right? It's fixing a need it could be, hey, I can't read this. Hey, I can't see this. Or I just want to know what's around me. Where's that open chair? So I reached out and as anyone else could speak to anybody else, I encourage because blindness and vision loss doesn't mean that you can't share your thoughts, right? It just means that we just have to find a different way to communicate to our different companies and say, hey, we need this to work for us, or this is broken. Can you help us fix it? Or do you have an idea that this could work better? So I would like to introduce to you tonight to Mr. Scott Adams from the Google Lookout team. So Scott, if you want to unmute yourself, and welcome to the Android Insight call tonight.
Hey there, folks. I feel a little embarrassed. I'm not usually referred to as a special guest, but thank you so much. So yeah, hi. My name is Scott. I'm a product manager on the Lookout Assisted Vision app for Android. And for those of you who don't know about it, it's an app that's really intended to make the physical world or visual world more accessible, more discoverable. Also, side note, I do have a young daughter in the next room, so if you hear screaming and or joy, that's what it's from. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of go into some of the details around Lookout
Absolutely.
now. We can do that
Please,
later.
please,
You tell me.
Please do. Please
Okay.
jump on in as much as time you have. Take as much as time as you
Sure.
need. We've talked about the
Yeah.
hours, so.
Great, thank you. As I mentioned, Lookout is really geared towards kind of understanding the physical environment. So the app will use your Android smartphone camera. It's going to look through the camera and try to detect what's around you. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, we can detect text. We have two different text modes. One cleverly called text, which is kind of for shorter blocks of text, perhaps the front of an envelope. And then one called document, if you want to capture a full printed page and have all of that read out to you. We also have some other modes, one that's aimed for just detecting US currency, because US currency is feels the same size, whether it's $1 or $100. Definitely an area for improvement beyond Google's scope, unfortunately, but definitely an area for improvement. And then we also have a couple of modes. Explore mode will try to describe objects in your environment. So mug, keyboard, lamp. It's not always perfect. It's definitely in beta. It sometimes calls my dog a cat, which my dog I'm sure does not appreciate. But it does often help people kind of get a feel for their environment. We also have something called food labels mode. And some kind of similar functionality can detect what a food product is by the barcode, but barcodes are hard to find. I have typical site and they're hard to find for me. So asking someone who's not really sure where it is to find that on packaging is really, really hard. So we can also identify the food packaging just by the label. So we can say, oh, that's a box of Cheerios or whatnot. And then the big exciting thing that I'm happy to announce, version 3.0 just launched earlier in June, and this includes something called images mode. And the idea here is, okay, you received an image from friends, social media, whatnot, and it's just not really a great description of what the image is. There's no alt text, or someone kind of just didn't give quite enough detail there. So what we're going to try to do is 4 things, and I can't guarantee all 4 will work for every image, but we're going to try to give it some kind of caption. So 5 to 10 words, 2 dogs playing on the grass. If there are people present, we'll try to say 2 adults and maybe their upper body clothing. So for me, that'd be adult teal shirt. If there are kind of prominent aspects of the image, like grass, dogs, ball, we'll say those also. And then finally, if there's text present in the image, we'll try to read that as well. So as an example, if we have like a photo of the Hollywood sign, then the caption might be like a general view of the city. The details might say soil, mountain, tree, and the text might say Hollywood. And then if you happen to have a photo with the date and timestamp and the location and the metadata, we'll give you that too. So oh, this is a photo from March 23rd, 2022 in Los Angeles. And again, I'm not going to guarantee that all of these work every time, but what we're trying to do is just make it a little easier to get a feel for the image. We know there's a lot more information that people want, so we kind of are chipping away at this and making little baby steps towards it. But that's really the big exciting thing that we started to roll out in just in the past few weeks. A couple other things have improved also. I guess the biggest thing is in the text modes, we now try to understand what the document is. And that means if it's a receipt, we'll try to actually read the receipt in order. So instead of saying all the items and all the prices, we'll try to say item, price, same idea for a menu. So we try to read the document the way the person who created it intended it to be read. So it's a little more understandable. Now, all of this is, it's imperfect. We are very excited about this. We also know this is a really tough area. So if people here have feedback, one of the easiest things you can do in the actual Lookout app, there's a help button, and you can actually directly send us feedback through that. So if you say, oh my gosh, like I have a letter and I'm getting just nothing but, garbled results here, please, look into this. I know it says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm getting just zeros, let me know. Like that information is really helpful for us. So please do send us feedback. It's going to help us improve. But overall, we're really excited to offer this. And yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. I will admit right now that we focus very narrowly on our app. I can tell you a little bit about TalkBack, which is the screen reader, and then pretty much almost zero about all the rest of the stuff that Google does. And I'm sorry for that. It's just a very large company. But yeah, hopefully that kind of summarizes it.
Absolutely. And one thing I had a question just there with the document mode. Can you point your finger at, let's say, lobster, right, in the receipt? and then start reading from that point?
That's a great idea. It's something we're thinking about right now. But right now, that's not something we offer.
Okay. So just as you're explaining the little modes and what we have, so yeah, really appreciate it. So since this audience gets to have interaction with you, I'll let the questions come along as long as you want, and we understand that time is important to all of us. So I'll let the next person unmute and ask a question to Mr. Scott Adams.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Awesome. Yes. I think the Lookout app is just extraordinary, especially the food labels mode. It's faster than anything I've ever seen, and very accurate most of the time. But the images mode, I really, really like, but I've noticed that a lot of image description apps are choosing to, or seems like they're, it doesn't say gender. And sometimes that's very, very helpful information to know. I don't know if that's considered offensive or something, but to know whether, if it's a picture of a male and female, or if it put the word probably before it. And if, I don't know if there's a way to do this, but like if you have a picture and a text message or something, if there was some way that, since you have accessibility turned on and you have Lookout on the phone, for it to just go ahead and kind of just announce that information from the get-go, instead of having to go through the share. You got to share you just got to share the Lookout and do this and do that. And there's this whole long list of other things like Drive and all this other stuff that comes out before you get to Lookout. And it'd just be like so much easier if there was maybe a Lookout button automatically next to the picture or each photo or something that happened, or if it just went ahead and just worked in concert with TalkBack and just went ahead and gave that description. But the gender and the color of shirts and stuff, like I was listening to your presentation from the Google I/O, and more of those details is what I hope comes to the app, because right now I take a picture of myself and I would like to know like what color was that shirt, or what all information is going on around me. Like, did I have the wall in the background? Did it get a pillow, or did it get a shower curtain, or what all did it get?
Yeah, that is spot on. And I can tell you, you are not alone requesting that. When we do kind of internal testing before we release, that theme came up a lot. Like, hey, can you give me more information? Hey, can you give me perceived gender? Can you just kind of let me know much more detail? And the answer is yes, we definitely want to. We also, want to sit down and make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure this is all accurate, and really ensuring that the model works very well across different countries, across different cultures, across different dress. So what you're saying makes sense, and it's something that we're pursuing. I can't give you a definite yes, we're going to do it on this day, but I think all the request is entirely reasonable, and something where we definitely want to kind of expand beyond this. I can tell you internally, we had these long debates about, okay, should we kind of walk before we could run, or should we really try to be ambitious and offer more out the get-go? And for this one, we really kind of started with like, okay, let's make sure we can nail this first one, and we know that people want much more. We also, it's important to be accurate. So I think to your first point, yes, you're spot on. It's something that we're still working on. And then to your second point about kind of the ease of use, yes, you're spot on there too. This is kind of our first step, and we want to find ways to make this easier, faster, more intuitive. So I think both these areas are things that we're already pursuing now, and I'm hopeful that you'll see improvements in the future.
So Scott,
it's great the way. I was just gonna say it's great the way it is. I just love it, and the only other thing is just being able to take a picture directly from Lookout, because it gives more information than the camera app, at least maybe on Pixel phones or something. if there was a way that we could know exactly what we're taking a picture of, and lookout seems like, even whether it's the explore mode or whatever it is, would be the perfect way to be able to know exactly what you're capturing when you take
Right. And so thank you, Kevin. And I do also want to let other people ask questions here. And so the main question here, if you could also explain here, Scott, is what's the difference between explore and images mode?
Sure. So explore mode, when you're using explore mode, the camera is on and active. So if I'm moving my phone around my room, I'm going to see bookshelf, couch, television. So it's really kind of working on a continual live stream of visual information on video. Images mode, you are taking an image which already exists somewhere, and the camera is not turned on, and you're just trying to interpret that image. So in other words, the capture part's already done. So it's kind of a static image, a static photo I've already received from someone else. It's been shared to me, perhaps on my device already. I just want to understand what's in that. Whereas explore mode is, hey, I'm in an environment and I want to know what's around me, or I want to know where a given object is.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. And so if anybody else has any questions, please unmute and let us know who's speaking. Wow, Scott, you did an amazing job tonight.
Yeah, this is
well,
Michael.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Go ahead, Mr. Michael.
Yeah, Scott, great app. Yeah, I played with it just a little bit. But one thing I was wondering, so in the images mode, like if you have a picture, you get a picture of some people, and if you already have some other photos with those people and you've identified them, would it have the capability, or could you eventually build in the capability then on the new image to say, oh, that's John and Sarah, at the park or whatever?
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, and it's something that we've also been playing around with. We want to be very thoughtful about any time we try to say, oh, that's mom, or that's dad, or that's Scott, as opposed to like person, because there's a sense of, hey, all of a sudden, like, does this app know who I am? And we think that there could be concerns around that, even if we don't actually have any idea about anything that's like, oh, this appears to be a photo of dad. We know nothing else about that. It can still feel maybe a little uncomfortable. That person doesn't realize that the app can do that. So there's really kind of a privacy and a sensitivity part that we really want to get right. So I think there's some opportunity for that. We will make sure we don't surprise anyone in a way that they don't want to be surprised.
Yeah. One other quick question. I was just curious, how big, what's the size of, how many people you have on the Lookout team?
We're a pretty small team. We're around a dozen or so. We're part of a much larger organization around accessibility. But again, I'm just kind of counting the immediate folks in our team. I'm not counting our partners on TalkBack and our partners kind of on other related applications.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
Hey, Scott, to add to that, could you give a little, image of the accessibility team and how many teams might be part of the accessibility team, just, as a overhead view?
Oh, that gets to be really hard because there are a lot of teams kind of working on different aspects of accessibility. I personally think of it, and this is kind of very much just my own view, of centering around kind of 4 main disciplines or 4 main verticals. And you might think of things around visual, things around audio, things around cognitive, and things around mobility. But those are kind of artificial lines that I'm drawing there. And of course, like, life is much richer, more diverse than just those things. It's very easy to have, I'm a little bit in each of these.
Absolutely.
Whereas I personally have like typical vision, I have some hearing loss, and like, hey, I'm in my 40s now. My manual dexterity isn't quite what it used to be. So all these things, I think everyone finds something very kind of deep, meaningful, and in some exciting challenges, because in some ways we're kind of all building for ourselves. Like, okay, one day I'm going to probably need this. Let's try to get this as good as I can get it. And again, like, we do that with a lot of humility, knowing that we have a long ways to go, and there's so many interesting problems in this space.
Yes.
But yeah, we really enjoy the work we do.
And as I explained to you in the email, I don't think everybody understand what Google has in accessibility. It's always a constant, hey, well, TalkBack does this, does that, and it works on this app too, and it's trying to make sure everybody understands the different parts and that
Mhm.
there's developers behind the scene that are taking down information, and we're trying to improve the environment and the ecosystem as such. So just thank you so much for sharing all that information. And to jump back to Lookout real quick, my favorite is documents mode, to be honest. It's better on medicine labels and just all kinds of things, and it's a little bit faster and quicker. Let's just say, is that the same technology that's being used in the text mode per se? Because sometimes text mode does, it's not as informative, or it gets things wrong and things of that nature. So are they the same kind of principles between document mode and text mode?
That's a great question. So it's a similar principle in terms of like wanting to recognize text on some kind of object, most commonly a piece of paper, but we build them a bit differently. So for text mode, we basically are trying to give results kind of as quickly as we can, and at the expense of giving very accurate results. And why is that important? Well, there are times when I just want to say, hey, is this piece of mail for me or for my wife? And I can just kind of hear my first name. Okay, that's kind of all I need. It's going to be, it's a little faster to use as a result, but to your point, you're going to lose some accuracy. So what we're doing in text mode is we're basically using this stream of video, and we're looking for text in there. And as soon as we get a pretty good image, we're going to go ahead and say that. But it does mean if text moves in and out of the image, or there's some other kind of variation, we might interrupt ourselves, or we might get parts of it wrong. For documents mode, we're taking kind of a more, okay, let's take a little more time and let's really try to get this as good as we can. So what we do there is we first try to provide guidance to the user in getting all of the document into the camera's view. So from top of the page to the bottom of the page, left hand, right hand, really getting it close to the camera and squared up and getting a one good, crisp, high resolution image. And then once we have that, we do a heavier weight bit of character recognition to really give those detailed results. And in that latter version, we can actually use server-side models, and models on the server side can be more powerful, more accurate. They would be very slow to run on a phone, but because we have more power in the cloud, we can do it there. So we can actually give better results in document mode, even though it can take a little more time to kind of get that positioning spot on.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Because I was kind of wondered, one gives just a cleaner output, which is documents mode, and then trying to read that same pill bottle, and it's just like you're fighting the pill bottle and you want to throw it across the room. So that's just wondering how it works. Because, and then as you said, the best way to get feedback back to you is through the app's feedback to get for Google Lookouts particularly, but Gcode.disability support, that's for everything else for the accessibility related. There's one thing that I have a question before I'm going to open up the stage one more time is, when are we going to get an app that's similar to Soundscape?
Interesting. So
because Lookout could be, because the assisted visions, that's the kind of premise goes on which app or who's going to take what ownership.
Sure. So for those of you who may not be familiar, Soundscape is a very cool app out of Microsoft. I should say very quickly, like, we're pretty excited to have so many kind of great other tools out there also. Like there's Be My Eyes, like which does a phenomenal job. That's not a Google product, but they do a phenomenal job. Microsoft does a great job. Apple does a great job. There's a lot of kind of really fun, exciting stuff happening. So overall, I'm just like, I just love to see more people come into the space and working on, challenging, exciting new problems. For Soundscape, that's a very interesting idea, and that's basically Soundscape is a way to help kind of, I'd say, navigate or explore an outdoors area. And there's some things that it does that are like, wow, that's really neat and innovative, and some things we're like, like, will we do it that way or not? So I think right now we would want to make sure that if we do something like Soundscape, that we really bring something that we're super excited and think is like moves the ball kind of forward or differently. So like that could be a thing we do, that may not be a thing we do. I can't really give you much beyond that. Absolutely. But I'd say like we definitely keep our eye on it, and I am happy to see what they're doing.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to open up the stage one more time for the audience to ask any questions. Hopefully, we've conversed a little bit to get you more information about Google Lookout Assisted Vision, but I'll let the audience have any questions.
Hey there, this is Barbara. I
Hey,
came
Barbara,
in
go
a
ahead.
little late, so I apologize if this has already been mentioned.
Not a problem. Go
I have partial sight.
Mhm.
I travel a lot independently, and I'm wondering if there is a tool out there, or if this one it would be appropriate for my use case. I'm looking for something that when I'm in a train station, unable to see the destination signs, you know, and those ones that have, oh, you have to go to track number 38, you know, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then have it read out loud to me, or um, do you, if this app is not going to be the one, is there anything in the development stages for that for Android? I feel like there's a lag, a gap in the information between, because like there's the AI app, I believe it's what's called, for the Apple platform, but then the Android is kind of like, okay, what about, you know, for us? And you know, because I'm a user. I have a larger phone, a Note 5, little elderly, but I do use it visually with the help of very strong reading glasses and the extra huge font size in the dark mode.
Sure.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Miss Barbara. And all of those statements at the end are all perfect. My first couple phones was an S5 and a Note 5, one of my two of my favorite phones. Currently at the S22 Ultra, and it does the same thing. And you know, on the Google side, the Pixel 6a 6a is going to be coming out soon, but you have the Google Pixel Pro and the Pixel 6. And you know, they do offer similar things, and so I'll let Scott answer if he knows of apps within our ecosystem at Google, since he is a Googler. Is there any you know, assistant apps that you would suggest other than Lookout?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is potentially a problem that Lookout could solve, and it's something that we kind of have on our radar to look at. But right now, I don't think you would have an ideal experience. My concern would be, oh, if there's other information around that sign, like an ad or some other bit of like text, that you might get the results from that as well, and that could be pretty confusing. You're welcome to try it, but I would be hesitant to say, yes, we're the one to answer that one. I'd rather have your not set your expectations that way. I also know that there's some work going on more in the Google Maps area to kind of get kind of improved information around that, especially closer to real time. I don't know where that stands, so I can't really offer much beyond like, I think people are working on this. I know working this a bit. There may be other applications like that, but I can't say there's a definitive like this is the exact tool that you need.
I think
Yeah, and I know it just one does not skin the whole cat, because there's just it's complicated as it is. So I would just encourage you not to forget about people with partial sight, because we are out there. We are in the trenches, and we need help, because some of this stuff is just not, you know, we can't use our vision outside because the screens, they just get all washed out. And that's a lot of people's main way of doing it. We don't necessarily use the talk back. You know, somebody might say, yeah, we should, but you know, if we're visual learners, we're gonna go that way if possible. And thanks to you guys, I really appreciate you guys having the help desk for people with disabilities, and it's excellent. You know, a couple of years ago, somebody called me. I think I sent an email or a text to somebody out there, Mountain View area, California, and they called me right back. We had a very nice conversation, and that is just what's needed, because not everybody can afford the Apple products. I mean, and for me, the visual this Note 5 really does it a lot better than the Apple. So it's something that I don't need to take out a loan for. And so we really, you guys are catching up really nicely to the Apple in terms of the accessibility parts, and just you're rocking it. Just keep going.
Well, thank you so
Thanks
much,
for the
Barbara,
feedback.
for that question, and thank you again, Scott. So, any other last moment questions? If you have a couple in there, Scott.
Sure, I can do one more.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, who's speaking?
Yes, this is Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
I just want to say thank you to the whole Google accessibility team. You know, I'm an Apple girl through and through, and by sort of a strange accident, I ended up purchasing a Chromebook recently. And the accident was my mom accidentally turned on Chromebox on her. She's elderly and she gets herself
Sure.
into more trouble than you can imagine. So I had to figure out how to turn it off for her. And in the process of doing that, like I'm just like, this is amazing. This screen reader is a freaking amazing. And
I'm happy to hear that.
And I have to say that I had tried Android products in the past and wasn't happy. And but I think we have to, as a community, we have to think outside the box. We have to give things a chance. We have to be, you know, make sure our voices are heard in the development, and sort of, I guess I feel like you guys, you're the best kept secret in terms of accessibility, but we don't want you to be a secret. You know, the secret part needs to change. I mean, the educational aspects, we all need to be, because so when this happened with my mom, I ended up buying a Chromebook.
Oh, wow.
For myself, because I'm like, I saw that screen and I'm like, you know what? I have got to see this. I have got to, you know, it just, and I got a Chromebook for $100 at Target. And I have been having so much fun, and I am so impressed.
Well, I say June 6th or July 21st is the 6A is going to come out. So you might pre-order, and then by the July 28th, you'll have a Pixel 6A in your hands. And then it'll be amazing even more.
Yeah, I have an iPhone, so I'm, you know, on the phone side, I'm good. But no, I just want to thank you, because I know you guys, maybe you don't get thanked enough. And when we think about accessibility, we typically think of Apple and Microsoft, and that needs to change. It really does.
That's very kind of you to say.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I will take that back to the team and be like, hey, guess what? You know, we have more work to do, but people are noticing it.
Yes, we sure are.
I'm just very thankful for the opportunity to hear from all of you, and that is a very flattering and kind closing note for this.
I do have one question for the Google team.
Sure. Go ahead.
This is Chris from Las Vegas. I've been dealing with the rehab center here, and as a matter of fact, I was just on the phone with the technology person last week, and she asked me if I had a cell phone, and I said yes. She said, "Okay, well, which one is it?" And I said, "It's the the Pixel 6 Pro." And she says, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Why are you sorry?" I said, "It's better than anything Apple makes." And she's like, "Oh, I tend to disagree." Is there any way somebody could get in contact with her? She said she's been trying to get in contact with people because she wants to be able to give the devices to the people here in Clark County, but she says, and I don't know how much I believe her on this, but she said that nobody has returned her calls.
I wonder how we could help with this one, Scott. Maybe disability support picks up the...
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I number one, like, I should be clear. I think both Google and Apple do phenomenal jobs, and Microsoft too. So I'm happy for people to use.
I'm talking to you on
they use
right now.
Right, just one person at a time, please. Thank you. So go ahead, Scott.
I'm just going to say I think all of the kind of the you know, kind of companies in this space, I think they all do phenomenal work. So I think the best thing to do is probably to get in contact with disability support. That's probably the best next step. I wish I had more to offer there.
Not a problem. Well, Scott, I don't want. I know your little girl's probably waiting for you, so I'll let you get going. And I just want to thank you again so much for taking the time tonight to drop on by. I know it's a little bit impromptu, but this is the purpose. I wanted you to see the people, not just hey, we have a show coming, and this is your Android Insight team community. And thank you to iBUG today for having us for 2 years, and you're joining us on our celebration. So thank you again so much, Scott.
Oh, thank you. This is a great group of folks, and I'm fortunate to be here. So thank you again.
Not
Yeah, if you need beta testers, let us know.
You betcha.
There we go. Well, thank you so much, Scott. And with that said, let's see. We're almost at the top of the hour here. So does anybody want to? We have about 9 minutes, but we could kind of move it along. And if anybody that came in new, and if it's the first time you've came onto this call, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of a background of who you are, where you're from, if you have any type of Android devices or you have any other Google, Amazon devices that you have questions about, and I'll let the next person speak.
Okay, I guess I fall in that category. I'm Barbara from Northern Virginia. I know Sri, and I have partial sight, legally blind actually. A lot of usable, vision for reading, and I want to actually use the GPS more. It has become my friend, but when I was in another country, I couldn't use it. And I was like, oh, I'm all disappointed. I need to really, really embrace this. And I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. I feel like I got to be carrying around 3 portable external
a lot
batteries.
of devices to get. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we could definitely take that question here coming soon. So let's get through this reintroduction here.
Okay,
anybody
thanks.
That's new, and then we'll try to get into some of these questions that you have. So if I may, next person that is new to the community or hasn't spoke yet, if you want to introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, and how did you hear about Android Insight? Quiet bunch today. Okay, well, so I'm going to start off, as the usual call goes, we have a question and then we put it out to the audience if they have any answers for us. So I know I heard a couple questions earlier, and it was awesome to have that present for us with Google Lookout Assisted Vision team member Scott Adams joining us tonight. So I hope you guys had a little bit of a treat there to get those questions answered. But I'll let the next question come up here. So if anybody has any questions, concerns, or thoughts about Android or even Amazon devices, because they are also running Android, please feel free to say who you are, and please wait for me to acknowledge you. And next person with a question, please.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin. What is your question or concern?
Yes, I wanted to say to Barbara that she might consider looking at the Explore mode on Lookout, because when she was talking about reading signs, because it works from far distances, and when it picks up text, when it detects text on a sign, or if you're waving it around and it says a document or a piece of paper, it will start to read the text that's on that sign or document or whatever it happens to be. So I think that's what she was talking about, being in maybe a bus station or something like that. So that's one way of being able to find information. And then apps like SuperSense, you can actually put it, and tell it what you're looking for, a receptacle or trash can, a sign or a bathroom or, a kitchen utensil, and it will actually start to beep when you locate that. Right. And then you could switch it to text mode if you were trying to read that sign or something. So, but Lookout Explore mode will, any of the feature, well, maybe I'm not sure about currency, but any of the features that it has, it will go into that mode kind of and pick up that text. I don't know if it's made to work that way, but I've noticed that if I'm waving it around, it'll tell me wall, computer, and whatever, and then it'll start to read the information that's on the computer screen, even on
Kevin,
text mode.
This
Thank
is
you,
Barbara.
Kevin. Go ahead, Miss Barbara.
how does it know that it's a computer or whatever the item is?
Well, Kevin, would you like to answer?
The power of Google, I guess. SuperSense and other ones. So I guess it takes the AI and so it'll say a computer screen. So first it might say a monitor or it might say a TV, but then as it gets more information, it'll refresh and it'll say computer screen, and then it'll start to read the text that's on the computer screen. And if you move it around, it'll say man, or it'll say woman, or it'll say keyboard or whatever. And sometimes it like corrects itself, but it's been a lot more spot on. But I have more experience with Lookout and SuperSense, and they both kind of have their strengths, but I use Lookout more than anything.
Hey, so this is Hershey, and so I'm gonna go second Kevin's statement here. I've used it just to point it up my TV, and it started reading out the news headline or whatnot that was scrolling on the TV, and so it starts picking up different objects. So explore mode kind of surprised me. Hence my question: what's the difference between images mode and explore mode? That it definitely encompasses other items. Where Scott was trying to say to us earlier is it's not perfect, right? So you always want to remember that with any of these apps, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It might say cat is a dog is a cat. So it just depends on those particulars. It is artificial intelligence is kind of what everything has these days, including Apple devices. So, the newer phones, I think, would be your best bet. Reason why I mentioned to you Pixel 6a specifically is you could, Kevin showed us a couple months ago where you could talk to the phone and say, hey, message Kevin, and then start saying exactly what I want to say to Kevin. And the dictation feature and all of that is far superior on Pixel devices to our old, somewhat antiquated Samsung devices that we have. I love my old Samsung devices, but just to remember that when you are getting a new device, you are opening up a whole drawer of tools, and some of it is assisted vision with Lookout. Some other apps like SuperSense or Envision AI, those are two other apps that do similar things. And Be My Eyes is the most important one to me. So to give example, I would buy a harness for like 25 to 50 bucks, and it's a strapped little harness you put on your body, stick your phone inside, and you are hands-free at this point. And then what you could do is you could use Be My Eyes, and you'll be hands-free. So your camera is pointing out at the world, and you're walking around with your cane, or you're just walking around. You might have some sight, as I do, and you'll be able to at least have somebody guide you specifically, like, hey, that's train this or that. And you don't have to worry about bothering your uncle or your aunt or your nephew or whomever. You don't have to have that feeling, because half the time it's that feeling, man, I'm a burden. Am I not, like, I have to go ask for help. You don't have to have that feeling. You could just turn on Be My Eyes. It's an app in the Play Store, and it says connect to an agent, and right away you get connected. And so that could be a way you could walk through these train stations, the mall, wherever you are, even at the beach, and you'll have somebody tell you, hey, walk this way, walk that way, and guide you. But that's human vision versus AI-driven technology vision. So those are the main differences, and hopefully we answered that question. But I want to let the stage open here, so if anybody else has any other questions or concern, please go ahead and ask your question.
May I? This is Barbara. May I please ask the spelling of that app? Did you say SuperSense? Is it SuperSense?
Yes, and then AI at the end. And
I'm sorry, the second one?
Well, yeah, so SuperSense is, as you just said, SuperSense.
Got it.
And then AI is like the second word in that title. You could usually find it with SuperSense, but just to be more accurate. And then the second app that I had mentioned was Envision AI, ENVISION. And again, AI at the end. And that app and SuperSense do require subscriptions, I believe, still for SuperSense. But Envision AI definitely is a subscription-based app, so you could buy it outright, I believe, for $99 last I checked. Sometimes with the NFB, ACB sales, you get them for half off. And then what's interesting for, I think, on Envision AI, for example, if you wanted to test it, it does have a magnifier mode. So if you need it for magnification tools, that is a great app for low vision users. And one more app just to toss in there is WeZoom, WE
Oh,
Zoom.
yeah. Okay.
And that's for, you know, a lot of low vision stuff. That still is a great app to use. And again, you know, your device is a little old, so with any new device you'll have, you'll get, you know, 10 times more the features, 10 times better color accuracy with dark stuff. So like for me particularly, I like my dark backgrounds with white fonts. So you'll definitely find all of those features in newer devices if you do choose to upgrade. And the age thing doesn't matter. We might lose our vision at a young age or old age or whatever, but you know, vision is vision, and whatever help that iBUG could provide for you guys through this Android Insight call, you know, feel free to reach out to us. Let me take a little pause and give you that that list again, the links and stuff, the resources. The website is iBUG today, TODAY.com. And then our mailing list for the Android Insight call is iBUG, iBUG, Android, ANDROID, Insight, INSIGHT +, and at groups.io. And that way you could join our mailing list. Kevin, thank you so much for being active on that list. And I see your day once in a while. So, you know, if you guys have questions, concerns, or we might find something new, you know, we found some new things that David introduced us on his mailing list. So, you know, we're always finding new things from each other. And with that said, if anybody else has another question, if anybody is new, please feel free. Don't be shy. Wow. Everybody's, I guess that lookout thing got
Angelo, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Angelo. Go ahead.
Well, I'm the guy that has the problem with the Google Hub doesn't recognize the Nest thermostat anymore.
Gotcha. Okay, so for Mr. Angelo, how Android Insight usually goes is the community helps us, right? Because we're deeper by the community. So if the Android Insight team out there in the audience, if you have an answer for Mr. Angelo, please feel free to say your name so I could acknowledge you and give him an answer.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So you're saying that you have a Nest Hub and you have a Google thermostat?
Yeah, a Nest thermostat, and I have I guess it's a Nest Hub, yeah. And it was working fine for a few months, and then suddenly the hub decided that it doesn't recognize the thermostat anymore. It says that device is not set up or not connected or something like that.
Yeah, that just happens sometimes. It might be that are they on two different do you have them on two different Wi-Fi connections?
No, they should be only on one.
And do you have the Google
well, that's
Home
an
app?
interesting question. Huh?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
Sometimes if one of them loses Wi-Fi, like for a power outage or something like that, the connection, you would have to go in and set up the connection again. So as long as you have the Google Home app on your phone, just if it's been kicked off, if the Nest thermostat has been kicked out or kicked off, then setup will be right there on the home screen. So you'll just set that item up again, because it sounds like they just came unpaired, basically. It's not really the technical term for it, but it sounds like they just lost touch with each other. And so usually when you open up the Google Home app, because it detects, because that's Google and Google, so it should definitely see, as long as they're both discoverable, then it should give you the opportunity to go through the process again and just set them both and set them back up.
So I would be looking for add device or something like that.
Yeah, it'll probably say setup. It'll probably say setup Nest thermostat or add new devices. Yeah, that's kind of the long manual way to do it, which that pops up on the home screen as well. But usually if it sees a speaker or a Nest thermostat, anything Google, a doorbell or whatever, and it's not part of the home group or that your current setup, then setup's going to be the first thing. It's going to say setup Nest thermostat, or it's going to say skip, or it's going to say ignore. it's going to give you those opportunities. But if that doesn't pop up, then you can hit add new device, and then it'll just start scanning.
Oh, scanning. Okay. And then it'll make a new screen with what it finds?
It'll pop up and it'll say, we found these items. Do you want to set up? And it might be your neighbors, and it might be yours, and it might be, and you tap on the one that you own. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Add new device. But make sure you have the Google Home app, and you just you want to open that from time to time anyway. Because now with the new privacy settings, I don't know which phone you have, but a lot of times it'll sign you out of the app. So you have to open up that Google Home app from time to time.
So it's not called a Nest, it's called a Google Home.
So Google owns Nest. So some things they put under the Nest. But it's a Google Nest. So some things the you have the Nest Hub.
Yeah, and a Nest
thermostat. The Google Home Max, and so they used to be the audio products used to be called Google Home stuff, the Google Home Mini and all that. Now they're moving all those items over to the Nest also, so it's Nest Audio, Nest Home Max, and all that. So it's still Google, it's all Google, but it's just the Nest brand is the name that people know.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thanks a lot.
And Mr. Angelo, this is Hershey. I want to clarify a couple of things here. So I have a Nest 3 thermostat, for example, and with most, even the newest one, I forget the exact name that they give it to it. I think it's just called a Nest thermostat, and the other one is Nest thermostat 3. But the main thing I've noticed, it does require you to use the Nest app. This is where it gets tricky because I've had this issues previously where what I would suggest to do is in the Google Play Store, search the Nest app. They have deprecated it, but it still may linger around to help you set up the thermostat better. Once you have the Nest thermostat app, set it up through the Nest thermostat app, then what will happen, it will be recognized on the Google Home app. Again, 2 different apps. First app is called Google Nest. Second app is called Google Home. With what I found out with my thermostat 3 specifically is when I go to Google Home to add as a new device, so it'll try to search for it, and it'll say the wiring is on properly, blah, blah, blah. But it will have trouble finding the thermostat with the Google Home app specifically. This was true for me about 2 years ago, or a year ago roughly. Mm-hmm. So it might have changed, but again, the Nest app, I think I had to reset it recently, and that's the same process I went through. So set it up through the Nest app. Once you see it in the Nest app, then you know that any of your other devices will recognize it with no issues. When you do use the Google Home app, you'll go to the top left, and it'll be the first item. It says Add New Device. Once you type that, the first list item will say something like Add New Google Chromecast or Google Device, etc., etc. The one after that, add a partner device. The second one that says add a partner device, all that means is, hey, you got a Google, you got a Hue bulb or something, or you got an IoT device. Well, they are all partners. That doesn't mean exactly like you're trying to set up your device. So don't be confused by those 2 terms. Right. So the first part, get up the Nest set up on the Nest app for the thermostat specifically. You could then name your thermostat. So I have named mine Ohm, for example, Peace and Serenity, right? So I named it, so I recognize it, that it's not just thermostat 3 or some weird name that I can't recognize. Mm-hmm. Now, the other problem that happens is once you have the Google Home app set up, you might want to use it, but I don't know. Can you turn the AC up? Because it's hot in Florida here.
I used to be able to, but now it doesn't do that. Yeah.
Right. So what's happened here is it doesn't recognize perhaps that it's even a device. Oh, and if it has, it maybe doesn't have it in a room. So you want to make sure that you're able to find in the Google Home app that same Nest device once you re-add it. And that way you could put it, let's say in a dining room, if that's where you have it, or first floor or second floor, and label it. And that should make it work. But just remember for your Nest Hub, that once you set it up through your smartphone, like with the Nest Home and the Nest app and the Google Home app, once you set those 2 parameters up, the Google Home app will work just fine off of your Nest Hub device, which is a display for anyone that might not be aware. They have 2 devices in the Nest Hub categorical, or 3, the Nest Hub Gen 1, the Gen 2, and then the Nest Hub Max, which is the bigger screen device. So in particular, if you wanted to set them up, you just want to first make sure that the 2 apps are talking to each other so they recognize the device. And then second, you want to make sure that your assistant then knows, hey, you want to change, Ohm, not Jimmy or Johnny, to cool or hot, right? You could name it whatever you wanted to. So you could say, turn on Susie, and it'll turn on Susie. Excuse me if anybody else's name is Susie, but you know what I mean? So in that sense that it will do such things, but you just have to make sure that 1, the device is being recognized, and then 2, that you have control over it within that Nest Hub display. But hopefully that answers questions, and if you have more
it does.
or anything,
Yeah, sure.
okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Not a problem. Well, if anybody else has any questions, concerns, thoughts, this is our 2-year celebration, 2 years of Android Insight. So again, thank you to the iBUG guy and Miss Ladybug for letting us do this Android Insight thing every month. It's every Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. So thank you again for joining us. But if anyone else has questions, don't be shy. No question is a silly question. We all might have that same burning question. So please feel free to ask anything you're wanting to know.
Are there any lists? This is Barbara.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you. I would like to know, are there any listservs for users of Android devices?
Okay, if anybody knows out there for Ms. Barbara, if you want to share any lists or things that you know, I want to just share one quick one, which is ours, if you don't mind. It's iBUG, IBUG, Android Insight, plus subscribe at groups.io. I'll explain these a little bit later, but if anybody else has any other groups or resources for Ms. Barbara, please.
Could you repeat that?
Sure, I'm going to repeat it at the end, so don't worry about it. I'll get you the links later. But if anybody else has more links for you, please feel free to say your name, and I'll recognize you.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
The blind Android users is a good one. It doesn't always specifically focus on devices, but if you listen to their podcast on I use Google Podcasts, but if you listen to their podcast or you watch their podcast on YouTube, they often focus on different devices. So that's where you get more of your device information. So that it's the phones, the Pixels, of course, and then watches. And you might have somebody that has, a smart washer, dryer. You just never know what's going to come up. And the good thing about the YouTube, their YouTube channel is that they have the full podcast, but then they also break it into sections. So if they do focus on a watch or a particular phone or, a smart cane or whatever, then that'll be its own segment that you can listen to by itself. So but the listserv, I mean, it has a lot of traffic, but not too much, not as much as some, but that doesn't always focus on devices. They might talk about, who knows, software, voices, or, it's a lot of other things that have, but it all has to do with Android for the most part.
Right.
Anything non-Apple, I guess.
Yes, although you do have some people on there that are always making references and comparisons because some people have both devices, and so that goes on, but you just skip over what you don't want to read and read what you care about. So sometimes I just kind of go through there and just browse and get a sense of what they're talking about, and every once in a while make a comment or respond or answer a question or whatever. But the list that Hershey gave out, that he's going to give out, is probably, there's not a lot of traffic on there at all. So that would be kind of the place to start really posting and putting input, because you get more of a chance of your particular question or get a conversation started, and you actually being able to see it in more of a controlled environment for a little while till it starts really going.
Okay. Oh, super.
Yes.
Thank you. So am
Thank
I
you,
understanding correctly that this blind Android users is a listserv and also a
Yes.
YouTube channel?
correct.
Yeah, YouTube channel, a podcast,
Okay.
and you can just Google it and the subscribe and all that other stuff. It's all
Yep.
pretty simple, but it'll come right up
I
if you
love it.
just
I love it.
Google
I
blind
will.
Android users podcast or email list or whatever. It'll come right up, and then you can just hit subscribe or send the subscribe email.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And yes, Warren Carr has been on our show before within the year, or past 2 years rather, and so you'll find him giving you some great advice on, the talk back, or maybe not so much on the low vision stuff. So that's what I'm saying. You have a better chance, and so I'll explain to you or I'll spell it out for you. It's iBUG, Android, ANDROID, Insight, INSIGHT, the plus sign, subscribe at groups.io, and that's plural with the groups. And our website is ibugtoday.com, and .org works just as well. And to also come back to some of our social media, we can be found on Twitter, and we could also be found on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and groups, look for iBUG Today. Similarly on Twitter as well. And other resources, just as far as where to maybe potentially find me if I'm on Facebook, is the Blind and Vision Impaired Android Users Group. And that, again, it's on Facebook. So it's another way sometimes I'll frequent just to pay attention to Android specific questions. And that way, if you wanted to reach out to ask a question there, you'll have more people to help you that way. But again, every third Wednesday is where we get together here on the iBUG Today conference call on Zoom. So if you go to ibugtoday.com and you go to the upcoming events, or even on the homepage, you'll find the Zoom link. So it'll get you to every meeting. Will get you to the link is the same, so it'll get you to all our events. So please feel free to visit ibugtoday.com. Again, we encourage donations so we could get some new equipment here. We could do some unboxings and things of that nature. And so with that said, if anybody else has any other questions or concerns regarding Android, or maybe how to do something specifically, I will be happy to see what we could get answered. And just remember, please say your name and I will acknowledge you.
This is Shri.
Go ahead, Shri.
Welcome, Barbara. My question is, I'm looking to get a Google speaker. Is there a particular brand that I should get? I saw a sale at Best Buy, the Belkin made one that supports Google. What would be a good Google speaker, music speaker that you would recommend?
Okay, well, anybody else other side from Kevin, because Kevin's so quick. Look at him. I already hear him turning up the phone. But if anybody else has an answer for Shri here, and if not, sure, go ahead, Kevin.
This is Barbara.
Go ahead, Miss Barbara.
Okay, this is maybe not what you're looking for, but it's important. I would get something that has a tactile buttons. Some of them are better than others.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other suggestions or speaker brands, or one compared to the other? And if not, I might have some insight up for you.
So this is Kevin, and I'm going to say the Nest Audio, and
Okay.
they have a Father's Day sale. You don't have to be a father to take advantage of it, but if you go to the Google store, and most of the time when they're on sale on Google store, they're usually on sale at Best Buy also. So I have a stereo pair, and it sounds amazing, the stereo separation, but that's probably it's $99, but I think it's on sale for 75 or 60 or something. I don't remember. But and it's not tactile, but you just run your finger over like to the right corner, and that'll make the volume go up, and then to the other side to make it go down, and tap it to start and stop playback. But usually you just give it a command and it'll do whatever you want it to do. And if it's on your Wi-Fi network, you can control it from the notification area. I'm guessing you can do that on non-Google phones. But yeah, the Nest Audio, and then Sonos if you're rich, as the Google Assistant or Alexa, and I think JBL, some of those other ones. But this one sounds really, really good. Has a lot of good bass and mids and treble.
Thank you, Kevin. And Shri, I had a follow-up question for you. You're looking for Google specifically, or it could be ALXEA?
No, the reason I'm looking for it is I had an issue where the A lady went down, and I want to have a secondary option. So this way I would have control, since most of my devices support both Google and Amazon, that I would need a system where I could control the devices that way also.
So here comes a follow-up to that. Are you looking for a display or just sound?
I just need no display. I just need it for sound and be able to voice control.
Sound. Okay. So my recommendations will probably lie within the Google ecosystem as well, with the Nest Audio, which is it's a bigger, it's not the biggest, but what they've done is it's kind of like your Echo, what do you call it? Like a tower, the tower version. I can't think of the Echo name.
Right, that's what it's called. It's an Echo.
Right, like it's that kind of size, right? So the Nest Audio size is similar to that. Then you have the Nest Mini, which is just like a little puck, so you're not going to get much sound out of it if you needed an assistant, right? So depending on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for audio, the Google Home they've discontinued, but that used to be a big speaker, which was louder, synonymous to a Amazon Studio. But the Nest Audio is synonymous to an Echo, which is kind of like a cylinder, but if you take two of them, you could pair it left and right, so it'll act like one speaker. And that's the one that Kevin mentioned. And then, of course, like he said, Sonos and all of these other ones have them. The only downside is this. Companies like Onkyo and stuff do have assistants, and they do sell speakers at Best Buy and other things. But sometimes the assistant might not act like first-party software on it. So you might have where it might act up down the road because of firmware updates happen or something, and it might put your speaker out of business. Sonos was kind of like that, but Sonos had a different issue, right? It wasn't it's just older speakers weren't working, and they moved to a different idea of how to run their business. So with the Nest Audio stuff, you definitely have those. If you needed a bigger, you have the what is it called? The Nest Hub Max. But that, again, is going to have a screen on it. But if you want a bigger sound, you could get the Nest Hub Max with a screen, but that also does come with a camera. And so if you stand in front of it and say, hey, play Bob Marley, it'll know you're talking to it. Because recently at Google I/O they announced that the camera will now know who's talking to it when you come up closer to it. So that's another option if you just wanted to try the one with a screen on it.
This is Sri.
Go ahead.
Do these have an audio jack also, or is it just
They do not have audio jack. They just have power and a mute switch. Where you flick it rather than the Echo devices where it's not tactile. This has a
mic's back on.
A switch that, and then it'll.
The mic's off. The mic's back on.
This is Kevin, but you can connect to it via Bluetooth, but no audio jack on these.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know if Hershey, we're not hearing you if you're speaking.
I'm right here. Okay, so
there you go.
I was right here. Okay, so sorry about that. I was talking to myself. Sorry, I have problems with that. But what I was trying to share is I do appreciate everybody coming along for our 2-year anniversary. It's been a great journey, and we look forward to maybe getting more guests in over the summer potentially. So I'm going to go do my due diligence to get more people to answer your questions. And, we encourage everybody to visit us on ibugtoday.com. You could find out tomorrow the upcoming events. So like tomorrow we have Trekkie Talk. So if you go to the upcoming tab on ibugtoday.com, it'll explain where you could find all the little bits and pieces of information. And then if you go over to on Friday, you'll find that we have the movie The Color Purple airing for our audio described movies. So every Friday you could count on us to come out to iBUG today and watch your audio described movie. And if anybody else has any end remarks, and Mr. iBUG guy, what I was asking about you was, don't we have a little thing that we could tell our speakers to play the Android Insight call? You want to let our audience know how to do that?
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, all of these Android Insight sessions are recorded. And so that makes it easy for us to create little podcasts that can be played in multiple different ways. Obviously, we post them on our website, which Harshid has mentioned to you several times. Go to the Android Insight tab on the website. Also, he mentioned our YouTube channel. Do a search for iBUG Today. And one of the playlists will be the Android Insight. Or if you have any of your favorite podcast apps, you can subscribe and just do a search for iBUG Android Insight, and then it'll populate with the latest episodes of this training session, iBUG Android Insight. And then if you have a smart device assistant, just ask it to play iBUG Android Insight podcast, and it should play the latest one, which would be May. In a couple of days, it'll be this one, June.
Awesome. So, thank you. Well, again, I just, you didn't get to hear me, but I was thanking you again for you and Sandhya to have us, to give us the opportunity for Android Insight and answer, not only Google questions, but Amazon questions, Samsung questions, all of these companies, right? So I want to say thank you to the audience. I know Ava wanted to say thank you to you guys too. It's always exciting to come to a new adventure every week, upcoming, trying to bring more guests in, if you heard that earlier. So if you have any, input, please email us. We always look forward to any kind of, input from you guys. And I hope that we answered a few questions, and I hope that, Scott Adams showing up here today from Google was a treat for you guys. And with that, Michael, you have any other ending remarks?
No, I agree with you. Having Scott Adams on was really special to hear his views and what the team's doing there with that Lookout app. It's really a pretty cool app there. Just thank you, Harshid, and Ava couldn't be here with us, unfortunately, but you guys have been doing a just phenomenal job facilitating this session, and keep it up. And
thank you.
Yeah, and just really all the people that called in tonight, participants. We're just really glad to have all of you here with us too.
Yes, sir. Well, much appreciated, guys. Thank you so much for joining us again for Android Insight for this month. And you could find us again every month. It's the third Wednesday of every month. So we look forward to listening to you next time. And please remember, email us at ibugtoday.com. And you'll find email information there as resources. And if you want to get on our mailing list, iBUG Android Insight, plus subscribe at groups.io. And again, my name is Hirsch. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.